episode. Hey, Jess.
Woo, woo. What's up?
Yeah!
We all know these are your favorite episodes.
Favorite episodes. I mean, we're always talking about something that's really cool going on in the television world. So tonight we're going to be doing Apple TV's Presumed Innocent with Everybody Loves Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
So is he not hated anymore from the Taylor Swift stuff, or is he still hated?
Well, I'm pretty sure if you ask a Swiftie, it's probably going to be a different answer than the rest of the world. But I think
yeah, is that why he's the bad guy? Or was he just always a bad guy, even before Taylor Swift?
Oh, you mean the bad guy in this? Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just remember the first time I saw him as an actor, he was a child, and he was in a Billy Crystal movie. I can't remember the name of it, but they all... they were having midlife crisis and decided to go and on a cattle drive, and he was like the son of Billy Crystal in that movie. So it makes me feel old when I talk about it like that, because everybody sees Jake Gyllenhaal and he's probably in his 40s now.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're also about to retire, so you're kind of old.
I am about to retire from regular work job stuff, but Jess did ask me, am I old enough to retire? And I was like, well, I'm just doing it anyway. So yeah, I don't know what old enough is, but I feel like I've done it enough, and yeah, I'm gonna make some changes in my life. So apparently, Jess thinks I'm taking over the podcast. We'll see what happens. If this gets more listens than some of the other stuff, maybe who knows? But this was an 8 or 9? This is a 9-part miniseries.
Yeah, you're right. It was 8 or 9. It was longer than I thought, because usually they're like 5 or 6.
Right. So this particular show is Presumed Innocent is based off a book by Scott Turow from the 80s, where he writes a lot of like courtroom drama and things like that. And there was a movie back in the 90s of this with Harrison Ford, who played the rusty. What is their last name? It's a weird last name. Savage.
Oh yeah, because I was calling him Krusty Savage.
Krusty Savage. And if he was in the world of SpongeBob SquarePants, that would totally be his name. Yeah, Harrison Ford played the Rusty Savage person, and that was like a 2-hour movie. And so I came into this, first of all, knowing the storyline, and also knowing it's a whodunit, so I who whodunit. But was it really going to be the same person?
So this was the exact same story. I didn't know if it was similar or what, because it's funny, like the older people at work were like, "Oh, I've seen this before," and I'm like, "It was a movie."
Did they watch it too? Were they watching the series?
I think a lot of them didn't have Apple TV, so I was like, darn. But
yeah, yeah. I mean, we can talk about that. That is a point to talk about, whether or not it's the same as the other movie. And I don't know the book, but apparently the book and the first movie were not exactly the same. So maybe this is more like the book. Can't tell you. But we have a really short synopsis here, and it is, wow, it's so short that I can't find it. A horrific murder upends the Chicago prosecuting attorney's office when one of its own is suspected of the crime. So in this movie, in this TV show, this lengthy TV show, we have Jake Gyllenhaal, who's playing Rusty Savage, and his wife is Ruth Negga. Have you seen her before?
I don't think so. She didn't look familiar to me. Is she in anything that I would know?
Yeah, I've seen her in a couple things. She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is another Marvel sort of Marvel thing. And then I also saw her in something else, but I can't see what it is. She was in Ad Astra. Yeah, maybe that was it.
Astra.
World War Z. So older, some older things. And then we have Bill Camp, who is Raymond Horgan. I've seen him. He's been in a couple of other things that I've seen. He's always like the side guy, and this time he has, the monster heart attack that kind of shakes the whole thing up. O.T. Fabinelli, I'm not sure. There's no way I'm saying that right. But he plays Nico de la Guardia, and the guy who's also with Nico de la Guardia is Peter Sarsgaard, which you've probably seen him before in other things, because he's in the Sarsgaard acting family, and he's been in Dope Sick and Memory, The Education. Flight Plan is a movie that he was in, and then Kinsey, which was a really weird role for him. But fun fact, he and Jake Gyllenhaal are brothers-in-law, I believe.
Oh, you're right. I think Maggie is married to Skarsgård.
Yeah, Maggie married Peter Sarsgaard. So the Tommy Molto character, who are kind of, I don't know if they're bad guys here, but they're certainly unlikable in my opinion. And then, so Ruth Negga and Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Rusty and Barbara, are married, and they have 2 children, Jaden and Kyle. Jaden is a girl. She's played by Chase Infinity. And then Kyle's a boy, Kingston, Rumi Southwick. Never seen him before. Anyway, they all are getting together because Carolyn Polimas, who was in the district attorney's office, is found brutally murdered in a very sadistic sort of sexual manner. And they're trying to find out who done it. And it's kind of slow going, do you think?
I don't know, because the plot picked up in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Of the show. There wasn't, any background. It was just they were at the pool, and he got a call, and he was like, oh my god, my coworker got murdered. And I was like, wow, this is starting right now? This is the murder of the entire series. It's happening within, 5 minutes of the opening scene.
Right, the biggest plot point happens already, and you're like, okay, now what do we do?
Okay, yeah, let me put my seatbelt on. I guess we're starting.
Get your big magnifying glass out and your, weird Sherlock Holmes hat, and let's go. Yeah. So it really winds up being sort of a character thing that we're looking at Rusty this whole time, about what his life is and how it unravels, because he's a naughty boy, Rusty.
He is.
We find out that he's having an affair with Carolyn, and it's not only is it an affair, he's certainly in the realm of stalkerhood. I think they even said that a couple times in here, but we find that he's kind of a gruff character, but he's likable enough that people at work tend to like him.
Except for the medical examiner, they don't like each other.
What kind of character was the medical examiner, honestly?
All right. He was definitely uptight and aggressive himself, but the personalities between him and Rusty did not clash.
Well, and he was just I don't think I've ever seen a character on television portrayed in it's a serious drama, but this guy could almost be in The Office or Community or Parks and Rec. He's so acerbic and just he hates his job so much, but he's really important. He's the medical examiner. He's given all of the details about how this woman died and what was her stomach contents and everything like that. So
and he's so defensive. Everything is an attack to him.
Yeah, and he's, I think at one point he was even are you a doctor? No, you're not a doctor. And he says it like a 12-year-old kid.
I know.
He's, I mean, maybe that's what I would be like. I don't know. But it was kind of I forgot all about him until just now. Yeah, so he's, so the character of Raymond was the district attorney, and he was being replaced by this other district attorney who's, what's his name? Nico de la Guardia.
God, his voice crawled under my skin.
Oh my God. The worst. Whenever he was on, I was like, oh my God, just please stop talking. Please stop talking.
I know, I'm like, I need to go in the other room and tell somewhere nobody says.
Well, I said one time when he was on, I was like, can I just mute it and read it on the screen? Because he's so annoying. And it was the tone of his voice and how he said everything. And I was like, you're really bad at acting or talking or all those things. I don't know what
it was, but
yeah.
it just
annoying.
got under your skin. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And then he's paired up with Tommy Molto, Peter Sarsgaard character.
He was just a creepy man.
Yes. So when I go into this, I know the storyline, so I know sort of what's going on, but they do a good job throughout the episodes of sort of putting the whole time Rusty is like indignant that people would think that he killed Carolyn. First of all, he's not even as much worried about the fact that they're going to indict him as he's mad that they think he did it, and he's going to try to prove them wrong, like be Mr. Lawyer. But then throughout the time, they start to sort of say, well, maybe it could be this person, or maybe it could be this person. So did you change your idea about who done it as you were watching the series?
Yes. So I'm a very gullible audience member. So whoever the movie or the show like portrays is the person, I'm like, oh my gosh, I changed my mind. I think it's them. Like I fall for everything when it comes to that.
Every red herring they're meant.
Yeah,
right for you.
I'm like, oh, it's the kid now. I'm like, oh wait, never mind, it's this. But I think more times, like if I had to do like a pie chart of everyone who I thought was a killer, I think Tommy had the biggest piece of the pie. I always thought it was him.
Because he was so schmarmy, right?
Yeah, and he really, really wanted to pin down Rusty, and I know they also hate each other, but I also thought he did it because he's like, alright, the weight's off me. It's like, it's gonna be proven that he did it, and I didn't.
Right. And he just got so excited every time something would come up that looked like it was pointing toward Rusty, that, he was just, and I was like, oh, maybe they are gonna, mix this up, and maybe it is. Hard to say. So Tommy was your main character,
and then I think the kid was number 2, like her son. Yeah. So I think most of the time I thought it was Tommy, but in second place I thought it was his son.
Yeah, I mean, they showed him in the beginning, and, it seemed like Rusty was kind of the traditional dad being kind of hard on him, to play, I guess, playing baseball or whatever, and he was throwing that ball against the house, and I thought...
oh, no, sorry, not that son, Carolyn's son.
Oh, you thought it was Carolyn's son?
Yeah, I thought it was Carolyn's son because he was like,
really?
Oh, I just hang out at my mom's house and I watch her. And and he's troubled and like he hates her because she pretends like he doesn't exist.
Well, yeah, and he films her, right? He's the one that's like filming her, which is weird. I mean, really weird. I mean, the son does not, he's probably like 14 or something like that. He does not.
Yeah.
Live with Carolyn. It doesn't seem like Carolyn had any particular love for him because he lives with his dad.
Like literally pretends like he doesn't exist.
I know, which is so weird. I
know.
And apparently Carolyn, everybody loved her, and everybody wanted to be with her, and like, Rusty didn't even know that she had a son. So she seems like as the show went on, and even the first time I watched it, that character of Carolyn became so much more unlikable.
I know. I agree.
I was sort of like, oh, do we even have to convict anybody at this point? Because I don't give a shit about her at all. Because she seems terrible.
No, she definitely did. Like, super manipulative and a little conniving.
Right. Used all of everything that she had, all of her sexuality to get what she wanted. Maybe she was a great lawyer too, but they didn't really focus on that a lot.
Yeah, they had some clips of her talking to the jury and like working on her old case, but not too much.
Yeah. The thing that was different.
Who was your number 1 that you thought was the killer most of the time?
Okay, because I knew who they had the killer in the movie, I was really focused on this person as I was watching. And so I'm like, it is this person. But then I started thinking that they were
like changing it from the original.
Yeah, and that they were actually going toward who ends up being the actual killer. So I wasn't sure how that was going to happen or how that person was able to do it, but that person was, I mean, we can talk, I guess, about who the real killer is, but spoiler alert, it's not Rusty. And in the first movie, it's his wife. She's the killer.
Oh, so it is different.
It's different, yeah. And so the whole, first 6 episodes or whatever, I'm watching the wife. But the one thing that sticks out for me is that he seems to have an extremely close relationship with his daughter, and that his daughter, I don't know, it seems like she's almost too close to her dad. Not that he's creepy with her or anything, but she seems a little clingy to him. As opposed to, daddy's girl, okay, but instead of, her mom. So when she ends up being the killer, I was like, okay. But you don't find out until literally the last 10 minutes of a 9-part or 8-part show.
She just played it off so well. Like, even her mom at the end was like, how did we not know? Like, what is wrong? Are you a psychopath? Like, what is wrong with you?
Right. And then you're left with, what do they do about that? Like, they know that she's the killer. Rusty now has been acquitted of it, so they can't retry him for it. You can't give your daughter up, right? You can't do it. So, it was I was kind of still wanting it to be the wife, honestly, because
I was kind of disappointed in her character. Like, she just seemed so timid and shy, and just like that wife that just is afraid to do anything. And I'm like, come on, girl, like,
own it.
Stick up for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of that for me, anyway, it's a good story, right? I think the chemistry was really off between Jake Gyllenhaal and almost everybody in the movie. I think him and Raymond, so the old district attorney becomes his attorney. They seem to have a chemistry, but I think it's more due to Raymond's character, who's more likable, a little more human. And I do think that he had chemistry with his daughter, which is interesting. But I think it was really hard. I think Jake Gyllenhaal was such a prime focus of this, and I'm trying to think of like how a 2-hour movie into like a 6-hour series or whatever. What is it that we see that's different? We see a ton of just like oh my gosh, what's the word? Flashbacks to him and Carolyn, together. And I was like, this is distracting for me. We get it. You guys had an affair. I realize they're trying to paint Rusty as being a total kind of psychopath and really obsessed with her. But it was like, they could have taken a bunch of that out. Maybe we could have had a 4-part series or a 5-part series. What did you think about the wife's sort of almost foray into her own little, dalliance with the bartender?
That little, like, the bar. I didn't think that was necessary at all. I just thought that was odd. It was too convenient. Like, what are the chances you're at a bar and the bartender knows that your family's on trial? I feel like anyone in the right mind would be like, okay, I'm going to stay away from her. Like, I'm going to keep my distance. I don't want to be involved in any murder trial that's all over TV.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it was a little too convenient, and it didn't do anything to their marriage. It didn't do anything really to the plot. They had one fight about it, but that's about it. So I don't think it added to the show at all. I think that easily could have been removed.
Yeah, all it did, in my opinion, is that it, Rusty became really indignant about it. And I'm like, well, we already know he's kind of an asshole, so we don't really
when
need
he
to
was
have that.
Off on her for that, I was like, are you serious? Like, you have a laundry list of things about how you're a horrible husband. She did this one little thing to kind of get back at you, and it wasn't like she cheated, but it wasn't like a huge hookup thing. Like, it was just like
a kiss.
Yeah, exactly. And then he paints her as like this awful person. I'm like, you little narcissist, or whatever the word.
Oh, a total narcissist. Yeah, a total narcissist, and also, an asshole, obviously. But he just, I think that happens sometimes too, and it's so, incredibly unfair to the other person, because you're taken by surprise by the fact that a colleague is killed, and then you find out your husband's having an affair, and then, well, she knew he was having an affair though, because remember they were going to counseling for it, but he told her it was over, right?
Yeah, he told her it was over.
Yeah,
and then what's up with
she ends up pregnant, so not over.
No, not over. But then what's up with Raymond's wife encouraging her to have an affair? Like, Lorraine?
Yeah.
It was like
unnecessary.
I know, like, she planted the idea in her head. She's like, oh, you deserve to have fun. Like, go flirt with the bartender. Go find someone new. Like, go do it. You should.
Right. Go do it, because, your family is in crisis right now. So.
Exactly. And you're all over the news.
Right.
Everyone's following you, but yeah, go do it.
Nothing bad can come from that.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of little waste things. I think there was a lot of setup for red herrings for pretty much everybody. I mean, certainly the Tommy Molto character and Carolyn's son. I thought they were setting up either one of Rusty's kids for it too. I thought there was red herrings from most anybody. Probably not Raymond. Probably not the new DA, he was just so terrible, just the worst. Probably not the awful medical examiner. And
yeah. I even thought it was a job from that guy in jail, Liam, whatever.
Putting who in jail?
You know, the guy that Carolyn put in jail, Liam. I forgot his last name.
Oh, yeah.
And Rusty was trying to paint the picture that it was, like, one of his accomplices that did it. Right.
Well, when we find out that it's the girl that murders Carolyn, she murders her in a fit of rage, basically, because she goes over to talk to her. Carolyn tells her she's pregnant. Horrible idea. Why? And that she's going to keep the baby, and so the girl gets angry and hits her over the head with a fire poker and kills her. But Rusty comes in late. Rusty finds out and comes in later and ties her up like this guy, this murderer who's in prison. And so now he has a sort of an out or an in or whatever, and says that, it's probably somebody that this guy's been talking to, and it's accomplice or it's a copycat, murder kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect that. That didn't happen in the first one. The wife kills the woman, and we find out it's actually one of the spookiest moments I think I've ever seen in just like a crime drama, because it's not a thriller, it's not a horror movie, it's nothing like that. But the point in the movie of Presumed Innocent with Harrison Ford, when we find out it's the wife, I would encourage anyone to watch that 5 minutes of film, because Bonnie Bedelia plays the wife and she is amazing. Harrison Ford finds the murder weapon, and he looks at it and he's like, oh my God, this is the murder, after everything, right? He finds the murder weapon at his house and he's looking at it, and then his wife comes from behind sort of, and she's like, I had to kill her. I had to do it. And he's like, turns around, he's like, what? And
my God.
She gives this huge speech about how, they didn't have any kids in this one, how she, saw this woman and didn't want her to come and take away everything that she's worked for in this marriage, and she wasn't going to allow that to happen. And then the big dilemma at the end is the same dilemma. Are you going to tell? Are you going to tell on your wife? Are you going to tell on your daughter in this case? So, good movie. I don't know if any of his other books have been made into movies. If they're all crime dramas that are law based, I don't know how fun that's going to be, because there's been Law and Order on television for the last 27,000 years. So I don't know how if that would be any better, but yeah. What'd you think? Did you enjoy your 8 or 9 hours?
I really liked it. My friend watched it and my mom watched it, and they were like, you have to watch it, it's so good. I thought it was one of those binging things that you could just watch in a day or two and finish, every time an episode was over. So they did a really good job of having a huge cliffhanger at the end of each episode, and you're like, God damn it, I need to watch the next one. Like, it's one of the ones where you think you're going to go to bed, like, at a reasonable time, and you're like, fuck, it's 1. I gotta go to bed now.
Yeah, I guess we should put that warning on this, because it really is like that. You don't, the cliffhangers are fantastic, and they leave you going, it's almost like every time you're left going, oh my God, is it that person?
Yeah.
Oh my God, is it that person? So if you have the time, like in one fell swoop, I would do it. Maybe if, you have a little head cold, or you feel like might be if you have.
So did you think it was as addicting as me, or like, were you more like leisurely watching it?
No, I wasn't leisurely watching it at all. I was, even though I knew the story, I was deep in it, and I really wanted, part of me really, I think, Jess, I think for the real reason is like, I wanted to find out, okay, are they going to have the same killer? Are they going to have the same person do it? And the way that they made the whole thing, it really could have been anybody up until the end. Like, it really could have been. They just, it was that last half hour of the episode is when all the pieces sort of started falling into place. But, but yeah, I was drawn into it. I like this later Jake Gyllenhaal movie stuff. He does a lot of drama kind of stuff, and I think I enjoy him in that. I don't know. I looking back at his earlier things, I don't know that that's really my jam, but maybe he's going in the right direction. I don't know. Maybe the Swifties are laying off him, and he can just work. I don't even know if he's dated anyone since that whole situation, but yeah, he stays out.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think once you've become a subject of a song from Taylor Swift, you got to kind of pull back and stay out of the limelight for a little bit. So
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to be watching next. It's one of those. This is one of those ones that when it finished, I was like, I don't want to jump into anything else like this right now, because I enjoyed this too much, and I don't want to get So I'm probably going to start the next season of The Bear. I haven't started that yet, so.
Oh, nice.
I'll probably do that. Did you watch that already?
No, I think I just heard from actually Nicole that how much she likes it.
Oh, you haven't seen any of The Bear yet?
No.
Okay, girl. But listen, you're going to have some time on your hands, just like this.
Well, I got some flights, so maybe I'll download it on the airplane.
That's good. I just got off an airplane last night, and I started watching a whole bunch of documentaries that I'll probably talk about in our catch-up. But I was like, I don't know what I'm watching right now, but I want to watch another one by this same group of people. And I'm just going to keep, this one's about farmers. This is awesome. This one's about a boat. I'm going to watch that one too.
And you're like, I had no idea I was interested in this until I'm actually watching about this topic.
That's exactly what it was. I think I watched 3 or 4 of them in a row, and I was like, this was so much better, because my go-to on a plane, if I don't have anything downloaded, is the TV show Ghosts. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, it's on regular TV, and I've never seen it one time on regular TV. I have only seen it on Delta Airlines. So Delta Airlines is my new place to go for my streaming services. I figure I'm
not sponsored by Delta at all.
Not sponsored by Delta. Or The Bear, or this company called, I think it's actually, the movies are made by, oh my gosh, what's the name? Yeti. You know, Yetis, like the coolers?
Oh, Yeti. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Who knew they made films? Well, now I know that they made films, and we're going to talk about it next time. So anyway, if you have anything that you'd like to recommend to Brennan, you can reach him at Brennan_podhost. And he is also on Instagram at that address. Films with the Women of My Life at gmail.com is another place where you can see us. And you can always catch us on any place where you get your podcasts. Jess and I both like this and recommend it highly, and make sure you have the time and maybe a nice beverage. What's next for you, Jess?
I don't know. I've seen a couple of theater movies, so I'm still looking for another show to binge. So if you guys have any really addicting shows, definitely let us know.
Yeah, we're ready. We're ready for something, and winter's coming.
I'm always ready to binge.
Well, because otherwise it's just work, right? So we got to do something. So Films with Women in My Life, Films with the Women in My Life. You can reach us all the places. And Jess, that was awesome. Thanks again. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll catch you next time. Enjoy your movies and your TV shows. Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.